Talking about a very important part of the mobility class, and that is your pails and rails. That stands for progressive angular isometric loading and regressive angular isometric loading. What that kind of means in more simple terms is it's basically the ways we can extend and add more to your range of motion through isometric holds, or slowly adding pressure and kind of controlling your own tension that you apply to certain movements. It's a great way in order to build certain forms of mobility. So today I'm with Ren, and he's going to walk us through and kind of show an example of what this pails and rails will look like for your hip capsule. We'll be doing some internal and external rotation with this pails and rails. So what I'm going to have Ren do here is get in a 90-90 position. What this looks like is one leg is behind you and one leg is in front of you. And you know if you're doing it right because you will see a 90-degree angle in your ankle, you'll see a 90-degree angle in your knee, and then there will be a 90-degree angle from your hip to that knee. The back leg will be in a similar boat. Everything is at a 90-degree angle. So to start off, we're going to look at kind of that internal rotation pails and rails. So looking at starting with that front leg. What Ren is going to do here is he is going to have a nice neutral spine and lean forward slightly. That's where some of the rails comes into place when you're looking at internal rotation. Once he's in this position, he is going to slowly push pressure in his right ankle into the ground, almost as if he's trying to burrow through the green turf. And he's just going to apply pressure and hold it there for a second. This isometric movement is going to take all of the parts of the internal rotation, forcing it into the ground, and applying pressure will kind of extend that range of motion ever so slightly. After holding it for about 30 seconds here, he's going to try and drive that ankle up into the air without moving his knee off the ground, kind of getting the other side of it and holding it there for about 10 seconds. And you can relax. That's kind of the internal rotation part. The external rotation comes from then the back leg, doing a very similar process. So getting set up, making sure everything's at 90-90. This time though, instead of leaning forward slightly, he's going to bring his shoulder back and kind of drive down into the ground with his hip on that side, really pushing it into the ground. Once he's in that good position, he's going to drive that ankle into the ground again, trying to burrow into the turf. The back leg. Really taking that back leg now, pushing it into the ground just like we did with the front leg, holding it there for a second, really putting pressure into that isometric hold. And then on the flip side, trying to bring that ankle, that back ankle up into the air without letting the knee move. And holding it there for a second. And relaxing. So these isometric holds are a great way to add strength to our range of mobility as well as extend our overall range. In mobility, we use things called isometrics. It goes along with our pails and rails, which is the progressive or regressive angular isometric loading. This is basically follows the idea of one of Newton's laws of motion, where every action has an equal and opposite reaction. When you're pushing a lot of force into something that's immovable, like a wall or the ground, that same force you can then apply in the other direction. So with mobility, this can help us kind of build that range of motion because you're learning how to meter out the amount of force you can push into an immovable object, which you can then take and use to your range of motion in the other direction. It can help build that strength to be able to support that range of motion that you're building, and honestly is just a really good tool for a class like this.